The name Accrington, where does it come from? It was a Saxon name, and there was probably a Saxon hamlet here before the Norman conquest. On the far side of the bridge, at one time there was a corn mill. It originated in 1530. But that was the second one on the side. The first one was burnt down. In the centre of Bull Bridge, the river wasn't culverted as it is now. There were 5 mills, only small, not the large type as you get today, and they were powered by water wheel. Here's the River Imben. Accrington couldn't do without a river. Without a river, you'd have no industry. The river's source is on the hills round Accrington and approaches from Grange Lane and Woodnook and continues under the arcade and under Peel Street, under the back of the market hall and into Cornhill, where it is now. It continues and flows through as far as Rishton. Allam Lane was once the first name of Imben Road. There you see the corn mill. Corn was carried to Huncote. Let's look at the route it took. Across the bridge and into Weir Street. This road would take you to Huncote and the back of Pennyhouse Farm. Here is the corn mill and Weir Street with the Australian Inn on the left, and we're now going into Kenyon Street. Round the bend in Kenyon Street and up to as far as Worley Road. This is what it looks like today. Back in Wool Bridge, Old Orfold, the ambulance drill hole on the left-hand side. That was the new one built in 1905 and opened by Babe and Powell. Across the road was the old Black Bull. This dated back originally to 1524, now demolished. Let's look at this cinefilm of Bull Bridge in the 60s. Union Street was the first planned street, and that was in 1782, but it wasn't opened until 1787. There's Carter's the Plumbers, and some of the old property. Along with the old Rosebud, this picture was in the 30s. Back to the early days, the old Wesleyan School, built on the site of the old workhouse. Notice the pointed roof. And today's shot, notice the absence of the pointed roof. The Arndale in Union Street is on the site approximate of Carter's the Plumbers. On the corner of Imben Road here used to be J&W Whitakers, who were actually my uncles. And they supplied farm machinery, ploughs and heavy stuff. They also sold seed potatoes and paint. But as regards the farm equipment, their furthest market from what I could remember was at Skipton. And the ploughs and heavy machinery used to go by rail. Do you know why this gate is in here and what it was for? Well, due to the reconstruction of Bull Bridge, this ground is much higher than what it was originally, because you had to step up to this. And the reason for this aperture was to the water pumps. which people had to collect the water because there was no water laid on in the houses. We're here at High Riley Cottages, built on the west slopes of Hambledon Hill, and as you see, it dates 1628. It's made up of 4 cottages, and it was once one manor house. Further to my right, round the corner on the west side, was the site of the watchtower. This afforded protection for the people and cattle during border raids. It was later transferred to High Riley Farm. Notice the type of windows used. They're stone mullions. And the chimneys, there are 4 sections. The watchtower was removed stone by stone, was taken to High Riley Farm, better known to Accringtonians as Spire Farm. The tower was erected about 1801, but of course at one time this was a working farm. Looking at the farm and the fields of the 50s, a much leisurely place, horse-drawn vehicles, horse-drawn ploughs. And the modernisation came with the tractor. Much quicker maybe. Here's a little boy enjoying the summer sunshine, haymaking. Perhaps it could have been the farmer's son. And the men turning the hay over, let the air get to it. Here's the farmer with the side delivery rake. This is a much quicker, maybe a more efficient way of turning the hay over. I suppose this is progress, even with baling. Spire Farm as it is today. Notice the large aperture is now a window. You've seen this old print of years ago. The farm itself today has several families living on this site, and this is the aperture. The windows and what look like arrow slots, they've been converted into windows. But it's a really updated building now. Yes, a very desirable residence. If you travel from Bull Bridge along the cart tracks to Huncote, you would have to pass along these tracks and up to Belgarth and up to the back of Pennyhouse Farm which led also to Huncote. On the right is Pennyhouse Farm, but on the left is Jenny Sheldrick's, the Accrington witch. She lived here. Here's Queen's Road under construction about 1907, and there's Pennyhouse Farm on the left. A beautiful house, all converted and extended with wide gardens. This was the home of the Cunliffes. It now belongs to Mr. Graham Day. This is Graham, he's just explaining the alterations he's been carrying out at the farm. Here is the land which is suitable for horses and rides, as you see. Round the back of the farm there used to be a well with an old pump which supplied water to the residents nearby. Round the back of Pennyhouse Farm there is a lane, and it leads to Huncote in the line of that fence. The lane passed through where those two gates are, past Law House. This is the lane going past Law House onto Huncote or to Illockvale Farm. The road to Whalley, the original road, came in from through Bullbridge on the left and along here and up to Greengates. But on this site, roughly where the Aldi sign is, used to be Milshaw House, owned by the Kenyans. This old road to Whalley existed long before Whalley Road was built, the present one. But the old one used to continue along Greengates up towards Ramsbottom Street. And further than that, it went in a curve into roughly where Garden Street is now, and in the grounds of the hospital where there stood a farm called Greengates Farm. This is Greengates that I'm walking up. It's a cobbled, my left is steep. But at one time it used to be a dirt road. This leads up to Ramsbottom Street. Look at these. During the war, railings were removed and you had no choice. But here these remain, the original railings in Ramsbottom Street. And the reason for this are the steps that nowhere will fall. Gracious me. I'm walking roughly where the old road to Whalley, and it came to a left-hand curve, and on the end of it stood Greengates Farm. Now the road continued towards the end of Queen's Road and then turned to the right again and in a curve going to Moss Hole Road and from there to Dyke This is Greengates Farm, and look at the pathway.
This is what it would have been like going to Whalley. The cottage hospital is where the farm was originally built, and this is the operating theatre. Nothing like today's, of course. One nurse preparations and sterilisation. The hospital extended and became Victoria Hospital. Look at the layout of the gardens. This is the junction of Queen's Road and Whalley Road, with the hospital in the background. This is a wider angle of it, and we'll come back to this later on. Accrington has come a long way since 1782, when this was the first planned street, Union Street, and of course it was cobbled. In 1878, the grant of arms from the Earls College and the large seal of incorporation. Those are the seals of the Heralds' College. The first mayor was Alderman J.E. Lightfoot. He was presented with the robes and chain and badge of office. There you see the chain and the coat of arms on them. And this is the mace. Look at all the work involved. The head of the mace with the coat of arms. Here we're in the 50s, and the old courthouse, which had been rebuilt in 1849. It was to be the new site of Barclays Bank. This is the demolition of the old courthouse. The old courthouse actually faced the police station. Here it looks like they're digging out the strong room. This is the 60s period. Look at the type of car and dress. This is an earlier view of the old courthouse, which we've seen demolished, and the tobacconist next door. I believe this was his old Alvis. That is all that's left of the old tobacconist shop and the oldest property left in Union Street. And look at the changes from blue to cream. This is the old stone on the old courthouse, which now can be seen in Barclays Bank. There's a town hall which was originally built as the Peel Institute, as a memorial to Sir Robert Peel. Notice the pedestrianisation, which is a big change from early days. This is the area known as Piccadilly. There's the main entrance to the new, cleaned up town hall. And the Piccadilly area again. This area is only open to bus transport, and it causes some confusion. There is Piccadilly again, and this building was put up in 1928. But what was it like before? There's the original, Dutton Street on your left, and the old shops. The corner of Dutton Street, where McDonald's shop now stands. But in between it was Woolworths. But today this is McDonald's fast food store. And as we pan round, looking along the centre of Blackburn Road, to Little Blackburn Road. Look at the gardens, the trees and the seats provided for the population. Here's an old print of Little Blackburn Road, and at the top was the co-op and the man with the water cart. Must have been hot weather then. The ladies selling the balloons at the bottom of Field Street. And don't forget the shops in the back. Looking from Little Blackburn Road, this is 100 years old, this picture. And the trams, steam. Another shot of Little Blackburn Road, and look at Altham's when they sold tea at 2 and 4pence a pound. Down the commercial corner. This is in the 50s. The type of vehicle being used in those days. The lamp standards in the middle of the road. And as we look down to the railway arch, the old removal van coming down to Cavendish's. There's Ellison's, the electrical shop. What is now Clicks. Burton's moved their premises into the new Arndale. And who will remember Redmond's shop on the corner of St James Street, a shop where a lot of meetings took place, and the old Woolworths before it moved into Broadway. The hatter's shop and Bridges shop. We're still in the 50s. Look at the old rag market. Just wander around Field Street. You can buy books and papers. Very much like it is today. There's a man trying to select a book. And who will remember a character who came from Blackpool? He used to stand on the market, Uncle Dick. And his wife, Sadie. Here we see them in Broadway. The Odeon in the 60s, originally built as the Riedel and opened in 1936, and later Unit 4. The multiplex cinema. But it's due for demolition. And this is 1990. This is the end of an era when this cinema closed. This is the last one. Who remembers Shifters, the wine bar, and the teenagers of that period? But this must be the end. Who remembers queuing outside the Odeon and the queues going from one end to the other, round the top and round the bottom and meeting at the back? What about the commissionaires? Didn't they show some air of authority? Up to date now with JJB Sports on the same site as the cinema. Who remembers all those people going in through that space? 1995 now. Looking at Broadway, even the pigeons in the garden. And Broadway is traffic free. The pedestrian is free to roam where they want. And look at the shops. Wood's Tobacconists again, the oldest building in Union Street, next to the Halifax new premises. And the Arndale on the right-hand side, where Wardworth's shop is now. Union Street, and if you remember, this was the first planned street. The archway is all cleaned up at the back, floodlit at night. Let's jump back to the 50s, to those sunken gardens. They weren't there very long. It was a shortcut to the bus stop. It's now the site of the new Arndale. Many of the new stores are going to occupy this new site, including Woolworths and Marks and Spencer's. Does anyone remember where the sunken gardens were? During the war, it was a barrage balloon site. It's coming to a conclusion now. And the finished construction, with the gardens, and the traffic still flowing, and people sat in the sun. How many people will remember the fountains that came at each end? And the blinds that used to hang down in front of Marks and Spencer's. This little boy must be in his 30s now. Look at the dress of the people. These men are just finishing tarmacking the road in Cornhill, which leads to the car park. But with this changing face of Accrington, this is not going to be here long. Back to a map showing Broadway. This was the site of the Spring Mill and Union Mill. The river was culverted so that further building could be carried on in years to come. This is where the car park, the free car park, is built. All this was culverted and the older property demolished, as you see there. The Arndale is built on this site. The free car park, there's the entrance to it, down Cornhill. But this is all going to change. These 1960 motorists are not going to have this free parking for much longer. Now into at 80. This is the new construction site for the new Arndale. The river is culverted at the bottom in the far corner. And here is the corkscrew toilets. It was difficult when you went in. The petitioning and preparation for this new site. Broughton's, the plumber's merchant in Ironburn Road, and the construction of the roundabouts under the viaduct near to Taxing Court. The tax office hasn't been built, it's still in the planner's eye. Some people take great steps, none more so than Benita Moore, observing the foundations of the new Arndale. The foundations have been cut and concrete poured in. What a job it must be. The culvert, which has been covered in over many years, is now having reinforcing walls to carry the weight of the Arndale. And there in the background is Unit 4. Who wants to dig? Looking across at the bottom of Milcher Lane. And as I said earlier, this is the site of the new tax office, and it's still just a dream. It's fitting, of course, that the Arndale were built of Norai brick. And here we see the later construction of the centre aisle. Here in Cornwall, by Marks and Spencer, Manol being produced. Aren't some people inquisitive? Just look at this. And the cameraman also was inquisitive. What had he got his eye on? The new multi-storey car park, almost complete. It won't be long before people will be up on the top of there with cars. Back to the corner. Preparation